Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 83 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. I hope everybody is okay out there. And if not, I hope that this show provides a brief break from whatever it is that you're going through. I love doing this show, and part of the goal of doing this show, I should say, is trying to bring joy into other people's lives, including my own. So I hope I'm succeeding on some level. Um, got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today on this episode. But before I get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. Also, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So, with all that out of the way, let's get started with this. I want to get started with this. So one of the movies that there was a movie that was recently announced that I was kind of dubious about, but I've kind of, for whatever reason, come around on, is this th- there's going to be this Miami Vice 85 movie, which is going to be this kind of reinvention of the Miami Vice franchise. And it's going to be directed by Joseph Kosinski, who directed Top Gun Maverick, and he directed F1, the racing movie with Brad Pitt. And I've, like I said, I've kind of come around on it. I mean, it could be good. If it's set in the '80s, it could work. And given the talent involved, you have Michael B. Jordan just coming off of his Oscar win, and Austin Butler, who is, in my mind, Austin Butler is one of the, I guess you could say that he's a rising star, and he's gonna be one of the faces of the future of cinema, I believe, as far as actors are concerned. Um, but like I said, I've kind of come around on it, and I think it could be really good. And there's been some casting news regarding this Miami Vice 85 feature film. This article is on CBR, and this was published on August 12th. And a little ways down here, it says that per Deadline, it's just been revealed that Alden Ehrenreich, solo a Star Wars story actor Alden Ehrenreich, has joined Michael B. Jordan and Austin Butler in the cast of Miami Vice 85. Now, this article goes on to say that Alden Ehrenreich is best known to Star Wars fans for playing the younger version of Harrison Ford's Han Solo in Solo, a Star Wars story. And he was also in Oppenheimer, and he was also in the horror movie Weapons, which was released last year, and it won a couple of Oscars, and it's great. And I really like Alden Ehrenreich. I think he did a solid job, a very good job playing a younger Han Solo. I really like that film too, and I think he's a very good actor, and he was very good in Weapons and um, Oppenheimer. I enjoy watching him. And him joining the cast of this Miami Vice movie. Um, and it's going to be explicitly this movie is going to be set in the 80s rather than it being a modern day interpretation. Um, and this article does go on to say that full plot details have not yet been revealed, but what's known is that the film will take heavy inspiration from the original TV series. Great, fantastic. That's why the TV, do what you know do what made it successful in the first place. You know, I think that's going to work. And when you have, an Alden Ehrenreich, you have a Michael B. Jordan, you have an Austin Butler, um, and you have especially Joseph Kosinski. Joseph Kosinski also directed this movie with Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman called Oblivion. It and I liked it. I liked it. Now, of course, he also directed Tron Legacy, which the less said about that movie, the better. Um, but I liked Oblivion. If you haven't seen Oblivion with Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman, it's a decent movie. It's a decent movie. Um, but Joseph Kosinski as a director really stepped up his game with Top Gun Maverick and F1. Um, but yeah, this sounds really good. I think this could be a really solid film. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Alden Ehrenreich joining the cast of Miami Vice '85. Okay, this next bit of news is a little interesting. So it was back in, I believe it was, let me see here, January of 2023. It was with great eagerness and great anticipation that James Gunn, who is one of the co-CEOs over at DC Studios, he leads the creative side of things. James Gunn announced what their initial slate of DC projects, their quote unquote, their chapter one, Gods and Monsters. He announced what their plans would be. He announced Superman, he announced Supergirl. There's going to be a Clayface movie, Lanterns TV show, which I've heard great things about. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to wait till all the episodes drop to watch that. But there were two other TV shows that were announced. One was Waller. One was going to be called Waller, which would have seen Viola Davis return as Amanda Waller from the Suicide Squad films. And the other one was this TV series called Paradise Lost, which would have taken place on what's the island from Wonder Woman? Themyscira. It would have taken place on Themyscira before the birth of Wonder Woman. which sounded interesting. So those two projects were announced as well. But there's been some news regarding those two films. I'm sorry, TV, shows. This article is on Variety, published by Joe Otterson. Um, and this article says that two previously announced TV projects are being put on hold at DC Studios. Variety has confirmed that both the Amanda Waller standalone series with Viola Davis and Paradise Lost, which would serve as a prequel to Wonder Woman, are no longer priorities for the studio and are no longer being actively developed. Reps for DC Studios declined to comment. Now, it should be noted here, and this article does point this out, that neither one of these TV projects was ever actually ordered to series. They were just developing it. And now it is no longer, neither one of them is in active development. Now, I want to be clear here because I've seen some headlines and some other people talking about the fact that these two shows have been canceled. You can't cancel something if it hasn't been ordered yet. Neither show has been canceled. They're just not, it seems, these two projects are no longer in active development, which basically means that these two TV projects have now been put on the back burner, and they'll get around to it possibly later down the line. Basically, in other words, that they're also taking other priorities over at DC Studios other than these two TV projects. This Amanda Waller and Paradise Lost. I as a fan, it kind of sucks. This is kind of disappointing because I want to see, and I'm sure every DC fan wants this. We all want DC as a film and TV franchise to succeed, right? We all want that. Superman was great. I have not seen Supergirl. I've heard it was decent. And even Marvel straight out of the gate. Not that I'm comparing the DC film and TV slate to Marvel, and nobody should, but even Marvel stumbled a little bit at first with the Incredible Hulk movie in 2008, and some would argue Iron Man 2, but I've heard that Supergirl is a little bit of a stumble. I haven't seen it myself. I've heard Lanterns is fantastic, and I'm very excited for Clayface, the Clayface movie. But so as a fan, it kind of sucks to see these, and this Waller series. Like, what kind of series would that be? And this Paradise Lost TV project, taking place before the birth of Wonder Woman. That sounds interesting to me. It sounded interesting to me. So as a fan, this kind of stinks. But from a business perspective, I can kind of understand it. And again, James Gunn has said that they're not going to move forward with any project until they're not going to greenlight anything unless the script is good. So maybe that's one of the reasons why it's being put on the back burner, or maybe they're figuring out that they need other priorities, they've had Superman, and they're going to have the sequel to Superman next year, and maybe they're realizing, hey, let's do some other higher profile character films and TV shows first before these other two, before Waller and Paradise Lost. Which I can understand. It just I really, and again, not to compare, but after the complete and utter failure of the Snyderverse, um, I think myself and we all want this new DC universe to succeed, and I think James Gunn and the other co-CEO Peter Safran are going to do the best. Are going to put all their effort into trying to make it succeed. And if this is a move that they feel necessary, then go ahead and do that. As a fan, it just sucks because I want to see what these projects would have been. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think. Have you watched Lanterns? What do you guys think about that? Are you excited for the future of DC? It finally looks like we have a light at the end of the tunnel. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Okay. I'm going to try not to get emotional over this next topic. And I'm just going to jump right into it here because there's no easy way to talk about it. And luckily, if I need to, I can edit this. Someone who there was an actress and singer who I always knew who she was. Sometimes you know who. Sometimes you're aware of who an actress or an actor or a director is, even though you haven't seen much of their work. And there was an actress and singer who I knew of, and I had seen her in a couple of things. Unfortunately, I think most of the stuff that she was in, at least for me personally, didn't appeal to me. And that was Hayden Panettiere. And it was on August 16th. I think we were all. That was not to wake up and learn that Hayden Panettiere had died on August 16th. That was not easy news to digest. And again, she was someone who most of the projects that she was in did not appeal to me. But she was in. That's not to say they were bad because I haven't seen them. It's just like, oh, that's not my really cup of tea, But there were a couple things that Hayden Panettiere was in that I really enjoyed and really enjoyed her performances. It's gonna be a while because my wife Katie and I talked about the fact that she's in Remember the Titans. She's a kid. She plays Will Patton's daughter in Remember the Titans, and I remember saying to Katie, I said, I don't know that I can watch that movie anytime soon because, you know, she's 9 in that, she's 9 or 10 in that movie, and I don't know that I could watch that movie so soon after her death. Um, you know, I believe she was 30. She was 36 years old. Um, and just to put that into perspective for a little bit, she was only a year older than my wife. Um, she played Will Patton's daughter in Remember the Titans. Um, Now, obviously, one of the I think the show that really I think the thing that really catapulted her into the that really her career really took off was when she was in the TV series Heroes, which I actually have never seen, but I've heard it's good. Um, you know, and that show was extremely popular. She was also in the TV series Nashville, which I haven't watched. I know my wife wants to watch that. Um, and the other movies that she was in were she appeared in, well, not she didn't appear. She was a main cast member in Scream 4 and Scream 6. As she was in those two movies as Kirby. And she, especially in Scream 4, I think if you know, not to, and I say this as someone who, I say this trying to, um, sorry, I'm struggling with my words. I say this to try to at a poor attempt to bring levity to this topic. But I think Kirby was every teenage boy's dream girl. You know, that really completely gorgeous. Uh, Kirby was a great character. She was completely gorgeous and into horror films. um, you know, and Hayden Panettiere was great in Scream 4. And if I may say so, the other thing I want to say is that if you've seen Scream 4, the moment where Kirby is killed, it's an if you watch Scream 4, when Kirby is well, you think she's killed. And when she gets killed, the person who kills her says, you know, because Kirby has kind of been hitting on him the whole night. And um, Kirby has been hitting on the guy who kills her the whole night, and the boy who stabs her. The boy who kills her says, you know, I've been in the same in the same classes as you for 4 years, and you're just now paying attention to me, you fucking bitch, you know. And I remember I was like, you know, that's an interesting perspective. Like, you're just now paying attention to me, you know. And I'm like, I kind of get that, you know, a little bit. Like, you know, like he's a little like like it's kind of that Thanos had a point kind of perspective where it's just like, you know, I can kind of see where he's coming from. um and then I think we were all pleasantly surprised to see her back in Scream 6, and she was so good in Scream 6. Um and um it was great seeing her back. And but again, Kirby was kind of this, like, she was a great character for teenage boys, because it's like that completely uh drop dead gorgeous com- girl who was completely out of your league, and she was into horror films, and it's just like that's. And I remember telling Katie, because I'm the kind of film fan, I watch interviews, and I watch, the press, the 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 red carpet premieres, you know and I remember telling Katie I loved Hayden Panettiere's smile. I loved her smile. And um you know I was and this is a not on a this is not on an unrelated topic. But I was reading something that um you know I really believe that films I really believe in the power of cinema and the power of film and bringing people together, and films and actors and actresses and characters connecting with the audience. And um I I really enjoyed watching in the extreme in the small bit of Hayden Panettiere that I did, in the small amount of material that I did see her in. I really enjoyed watching her. And what I didn't know, and I just want to talk about this for a little bit. What I didn't know, for those who don't know, um, there was an actress um, by the name of Michelle Trachtenberg, um, who was in uh, the film called Harriet the Spy, and she was in the superhero. She was in the Inspector Gadget movie, and she was on Buffy, and she was in Eurotrip, and Michelle Trachtenberg and Hayden Panettiere were in a movie together called The Ice Princess. Movie doesn't appeal to me at all. But that the fact that the two leads of that movie, Michelle Trachtenberg died last year, and the fact that the two leads of that movie are now gone, um, and Michelle Trachtenberg was 39, Hayden Panettiere was 36. It's not fair, and it's not right, and we deserved to see more. And again, I loved Hayden Panettiere's smile, and um, I also remember telling Katie, Hayden Panettiere, and I don't talk about, you know what actors and actresses, what celebrities do in their personal lives is nobody's business. I go to the movies to watch them do their work. I don't really care what, but um, Hayden Panettiere has been through a lot. Had been through a lot, and there was literally an article, and I'm not going to get into it, but there's literally an article with a headline that reads, Hollywood failed Hayden Panettiere. And it's not fair, and it's not right, and I loved her smile. And it's going to be a minute before I can watch Remember the Titans. I know that much. And I'm going to miss her very much. And it's so damn tragic. I don't know the circumstances surrounding her death. I don't want to know. It's just tragic that someone so young and so talented is gone. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. Excuse me. Um, I I don't know what else to say. Again, luckily I can edit this. Okay. Um, if you um, feel like it, um, what are your what do you remember about Hayden Panettiere? What are some of the films and shows that she was in that you like? Again, I really believe that films and characters and you know actors and actresses and directors I believe that they can connect with you and you know um, yeah. Okay, let me. So I just wanted to say that about Hayden Panettiere. Um, let's. I want to move on here. So, for those who don't know, um, I want to try to get my dates right. So, from August 14th to August 16th this year, D23 took place. Now, for those who don't know what D23 is the official Disney fan club. It's known mainly for its expo event or events, and D23 is um, they um, they announce casts and upcoming films um, for their Disney and Marvel and Star Wars, and whatever. Now, at this year's D23, a couple of very interesting projects were announced, and I'm going to talk about those right now. One of those was the first. I want to make sure I get my information right. The first X-Men film within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I believe is going to be directed by um hold on. Hold on. Jake Schreier. who directed Thunderbolts, which I loved. I loved. That movie really resonated with me on a personal level. Yeah, I loved Thunderbolts. So Jake Schreier is going to be directing this X-Men movie. And we have some cast announcements regarding that X-Men movie. This article is on CBR, published on August 15th. This article says, Marvel Studios is rebooting X-Men with an all-new feature film set to introduce a fresh take on the iconic mutant team. Several new additions have just been announced for the cast, with a handful of major characters now confirmed for the new film. The X-Men reboot was addressed at Disney's D23 Expo 2026 on Friday evening. It was formally announced that the movie will feature Indy Navarrete as Rogue, Christopher Abbott as Professor X, Maya Boyd as Storm, and Adam Driver as the supervillain, Mr. Sinister. Okay. I believe Sadie Sink is obviously going to play Jean Grey. Kit Connor is going to be Cyclops. Samara Weaving is going to be Emma Frost. Okay. I want to talk about this cast for a minute. Now, Samara Weaving as Emma Frost. I love this casting. And I have no doubt that Emma Frost will be treated a lot better and given due, and Emma Frost will get, how Emma Frost was done in the X-Men movies with James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender wasn't great. But I have no doubt that because it's Samara Weaving and because now it's under the Marvel, the MCU banner, that we'll get to see the character done right. So that's good. And Samara Weaving is awesome. Christopher Abbott. Now, Christopher Abbott was in his most recent, he was in Poor Things with Emma Stone, and he was also in the Wolfman movie that came out last year, which he's good in the movie, but that movie's terrible. The movie's not very good. So he's going to play Charles Xavier. Actually, the movie's not terrible. I mean, it's kind of mediocre. So Christopher Abbott is going to play Professor X. I'm not familiar with Maya Boyd, but she's going to play Storm. Now, obviously, Indy Navarrete as Rogue. That's obviously the biggest name, or the most popular name right now to be announced. This is awesome. This is awesome. I have no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that she's going to crush it. Indy Navarrete is going to be awesome as Rogue. And hopefully, and I have no doubt that it will be a more comic accurate Rogue than we got in the Fox X-Men movies. It's funny to me people complain about how Cyclops was done dirty in those Fox X-Men movies. You know, Rogue wasn't done very well either. You know, I'm just saying. Um, it was different, to say the least. I think Indy Never Ready is going to crush it. Indy Never Ready is going to crush it. And like I said, I think as far as current popular names right now, Indy Never Ready is we're all just like, holy crap, Indy Never Ready is going to be Rogue. Now, speaking of popular names, however, Adam Driver is going to be Mr. Sinister. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome. I love that, and look, I love the X-Men, and everybody wants to see the X-Men fight Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants. Everybody wants to see that. But I love that we're not getting Magneto in this X-Men movie. I love that we're getting Mr. Sinister. And Mr. Sinister is a great character, and Adam Driver's going to crush it. I want to say this too. If you look at the cast, we're getting younger iterations of these characters. I mean, how old is Sadie Sink as Jean Grey? So we're getting younger versions of these characters, and obviously that means that they're going to be around a while, which is awesome. I just want to hear, from I think any X-Men fan wants to see Indy Never Ready do Rogue in that Southern accent. I think this is going to be so good. This is going to be so good. I'm not too familiar with Kit Connor or Maya Boyd. Like I said, Maya Boyd is going to play Storm. Kit Connor is going to be Cyclops. But this sounds good. This sounds good. Okay. So yeah, jump in the comments section and let me know what you guys think about the cast for this upcoming X-Men reinvention. Now, one of the other announcements at D23 was, a Zootopia 3. This article is on Variety, published by Jordan Moreau. This article says, Disney has announced that Zootopia 3 is in the works following the massive success of last year's Zootopia 2, which became the company's highest-grossing animated movie of all time, with $1.8 billion at the global box office. Yeah, Zootopia 3. I love these movies. I love these movies. Zootopia 2 was great. And look, I was like, the first one is so great, and Zootopia 2 better live up to and it did. Zootopia 2 is great. So I'm very excited for Zootopia 3, and also it kind of seems, I love that Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps are becoming better friends. By the end of Zootopia 2, Nick Wilde has sent that message to her, to Hopps, love you, partner, I love that. That's so lovable. So yeah, Zootopia 3 is coming. I'm very excited about that. Now, um, the other bit of news here is regarding this Tangled live action remake. Let me see here. Uh, there's this article on Screen Rant published by Rihanna DeBono Smith. And about halfway down the article, it says that during D23, the casting of King Frederic was announced. King Frederic will be played by Elliot Cohen, who played Norton Knatchbull in The Crown. Um, so I'm not familiar with The Crown. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with Elliot Cohen. But with all that being said, they've Tegan Croft is going to play Rapunzel. Milo Manheim is going to play Flynn Rider. Catherine Hahn is Mother Gothel. Patrick and Hugo McPherson as the Stabbington twins. Michael Gracie, who directed The Greatest Showman, is directing, and now Queen Ariana is going to be played by Catriona Balfe, and King Frederic is going to be played by Elliot Cohen. So yeah. So more casting news means they're going to start filming soon. So hopefully, this is another. This is a hit, and it seems that the future of these live action Disney remakes is in doubt somewhat. But hopefully this Tangled live action remake kind of changes the tune of that. But we'll see. So jump in the comments section and let me know what you guys think about all these D23 announcements. Okay. One other piece of news. Hold on. Regarding the Miami Vice 85 movie. I wanted to talk about this. I meant to talk about this earlier. The Miami Vice 85 movie. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Boris Kitt. This article says that Whitney Peak, one of the stars of the recent Gossip Girl reboot, has joined the cast of Universal's Miami Vice 85. Whitney Peak joins Michael B. Jordan, Austin Butler, and Alden Ehrenreich in the feature, which is eyeing a November production start and will shoot in New York and Miami. The new feature will explore the glamour and corruption of mid-'80s Miami in a new version of the property, inspired by the pilot episode of the landmark television series that influenced culture and set the style of everything from fashion to filmmaking. Great. Awesome. I love that it's going to start in November. We're going to get it soon. I haven't seen the Gossip Girl reboot. I'm not too familiar with Whitney Peak, but again, they're going to start filming soon. November is going to be here before we know it. So they're going to start filming soon, and I'm very excited for this movie. Have you guys seen the Gossip Girl? Are you familiar with Whitney Peak? If so, jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. I'm very much looking forward to this movie. Okay, let's see. Moving on here. So Uh, one of uh, one of my favorite actors is Jason Isaacs. Obviously he was in The White Lotus. He played Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter films. I always talk about the fact that I loved him as Captain Hook in the 2003 Peter Pan live action film. Um, he even made a glorified cameo in the Elektra movie, which, say whatever you want about that. But I love him as an actor. And he is going to be in an upcoming movie at Netflix. This article is on Variety, published by Ethan Shanfeld. So this article says that Kevin Hart and Henry Cavill's spy comedy at Netflix has added 3 to its cast. And most notably, I want to point this out, most notably is Jason Isaacs. Justine Loop from Succession and Aja Naomi King from How to Get Away with Murder are also going to be in this movie. Details about their roles are kept under wraps. McG is directing the project. Gee, let's see. What did McG direct? McG directed Terminator Salvation, which is terrible. He directed both Charlie's Angels movies with Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore and Lucy Liu. The first of which is actually pretty decent. He directed this movie called The Babysitter. He directed This Means War with Chris Pine and Tom Hardy and Reese Witherspoon, which is terrible. He directed this movie called 3 Days to Kill with Kevin Costner and Amber Heard. I can't believe I made that joke. We'll see if I get in trouble for that. So he doesn't have a great track record of directing movies. But he's going to be directing this spy comedy at Netflix. I love Jason Isaacs. I love Kevin Hart. There's a story that I always like to tell about. I went to the dentist one time, and it was one of those dentists' offices where they play some. They have a TV, and you can watch something while you're working on you, right? And I was like, sure, let's put on some Kevin Hart stand-up. It turns out that they couldn't work on me while I was watching the Kevin Hart stand-up because I was laughing too hard. So I love Kevin Hart. Henry Cavill. I always feel bad for Henry Cavill because I think he's a very good actor. And I think, the failure of the Snyderverse was not Henry Cavill's fault. I always feel bad for Henry Cavill because he did not get a fair shake as Superman. and that's not his fault. Um, I think he could have been a great Superman. And unfortunately, I also think that he was given every opportunity to become a become a star, become a great leading man. It unfortunately the movies that he was in after playing Superman, nobody was interested in seeing for whatever reason, which is a shame because I like Henry Cavill. I will say he's gonna star in the upcoming Highlander remake, and I am so excited for that. And I think that finally Henry Cavill is going to be in a movie that everybody's going to flock to see. I think that movie is going to be awesome. And like I said, I really like him. Um. So yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in McGee as a director, but I love this cast. I love this cast. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this spy. And by the way, I think Henry Cavill and Kevin Hart are going to play off of each other extremely well. I Kevin Hart can work with anybody. I really believe that. I think that Henry Cavill and Kevin Hart are going to be magic. It's just going to be great. I'm a little dubious because it's Netflix and because it's McGee directing, but we'll see. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think. Okay. Couple more things to talk about here, and then I gotta go because Katie and I are finally going to go see Spider-Man. One of my favorite actors is Nicolas Cage. He always picks very interesting projects to be in, and he makes very interesting creative choices. I always say, like, Nicolas Cage is one of those actors, like, you can see him in something, you can see him in one thing and go, what the hell were you doing? And then you can see him in something else and go, wow, you are the greatest actor in the history of ever. And he's kind of hinted that he might be retiring from film. He might be retiring from film, from film acting at least, and transition into television. But he's kind of hinted that he might be retiring from film acting. And he's always been one of my favorite actors. So he's got this new film coming, which sounds completely bonkers and I mean this in the best way possible. This sounds like a Nicolas Cage kind of movie. This article is on Deadline, published by Andreas Weissman. And this article says, Nicolas Cage is set to play one of the last known survivors of a nuclear apocalypse who must do battle with a horde of vicious cannibals in new action thriller Perish. This article goes on to say that set 30 years after a nuclear apocalypse, Perish stars Oscar winner and action vet Nicolas Cage, as a hardened survivor who has managed to stay alive with his highly trained attack dogs by following one unbreakable rule: never let anyone through the gate. That rule has kept him alive for 3 decades. But when a desperate woman carrying an infant appears outside his sanctuary, Perish is forced to choose between compassion and survival. His decision exposes the refuge he has spent years building and puts him in the crosshairs of a vicious band of cannibals closing in from the wasteland. With his highly equipped compound under siege and his past finally catching up with him, Parrish is forced into a brutal fight to protect everything he has left. Awesome. This sounds awesome. And by the way, I just want to point this out here. I love that this article points out that Nicolas Cage is an Oscar winner. Because a lot of people forget that. Nicolas Cage is an Oscar winner. He won the best lead actor for Leaving Las Vegas. And if you haven't seen that movie, if you want to know how great Nicolas Cage can be, watch Leaving Las Vegas, because that movie's fantastic. I love movies that are post-apocalyptic, like set after a nuclear apocalypse. I love movies like that. And I love this plot line, that his character is forced to choose between compassion and survival, and his decision exposes what he's been building and puts him in the crosshairs of cannibals. I love that. I love characters that have to make I love movies and I love characters where the character has to make a very crucial decision that literally could mean life or death. And a post-apocalyptic movie with Nicolas Cage battling cannibals. Yeah, I'm gonna see the shit out of this movie. Fuck yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this sounds fantastic. This sounds awesome. I can't wait for this. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Parrish, starring Nicolas Cage. Who will be... the project heralds from writer-director Adam Segal, writer-director of Nandor Fodor and The Talking Mongoose, which I've never heard of. But it sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think. So I might... That'll do it for today, because Katie and I have to go. We got to leave for the movie. I might be on for a little bit on Tuesday to talk about a couple of things that I didn't get to now. So yeah. I might be on for a little bit on Tuesday. If not, I will be back next week. So I hope you guys enjoy the show and continue to enjoy the show in the future. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have a comment, a question, you can drop a comment in the comment section or send me an email. And until next time, I will see you at the movies.